In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then God said, "Let us make human beings in our image to be like us." So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. And then God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and govern it." And then God looked over all that he had made, and he saw that it was very good. God made you. He conceived of and designed every bit of you. God thought about what your body would look like, and your eyes, and what they would look at. God contemplated the nature of your heart and your being and your mind, and created your soul. And God built into you and me, all of us, yearnings and desires, good God-given yearnings and desires. God is the one who in particular built into you your desires, the desires of your sexual nature, being a sexual being. God made every single part of you and your body, every part of you, crafted by the mind and heart of God. And God made it good. Very good. So, this morning we're going to talk about lust. And I can still remember when a pastor of mine, when I was younger, was preaching on, I think, at a passage on adultery where Jesus says, if you even look at a woman with lust in your eyes, you've committed adultery in your heart. And his first comment on that was, I can't even walk out of the doors of this church building and see a woman across the street at the food store and not have a thought of lust come into my mind. And we all just sort of slunk in our pews a little bit, and I went, oh my, nobody really says that, do they? And he did. A bit too honest, but it is true, isn't it? This is a ubiquitous, deadly sin, this lust is. We feel it and see it through our eyes. They say men, they say men are much more lustful through their eyes, but we also experience it through our emotions and through the stories we read or the books or the movies. They say women are maybe more inclined towards that kind of lust. I think it's, in our world today, sort of balancing out with the objectifying of men, which kind of bothers me. I feel like my body's being objectified all over the place in our culture today. But we all do it, right? I won't ask for a show of hands. We all do it. And the question that has often come to me at this point, often by a friend of mine, is, so what? And his argument is, I can look as long as I don't touch. Who's really hurt when I lust? And then I think of another friend, a woman I know, who years ago told me about how hurtful it is for her to be driving down 17th Ave in the summer with her husband, and she can't help but noticing that her husband turns into Mr. Bobblehead, just the whole time, Like your wife isn't going to notice you doing that, even if you do the still head thing and just do the eyes. Heartbroken because she wonders why this man in her life, in this monogamous marital relationship, would want to invite all these women who he doesn't even know into their relationship. And I know we're human, we just read it, and that our desires are given by God. And the lesson I've often heard about lust is you can't help but notice, but you can help but notice the second time and the third time and the fourth time, when you move to ogling and fantasizing and then sometimes even acting out, you can control those things, even if you can't help but notice. But it's still a problem, even in the noticing and how we notice. Lust divides you. It takes passions and desires that are God-given good things meant in relationship to be with one other person, meant for a primary relationship with one other person, and lust divides those passions and spreads those desires out. So instead of giving 100% of your love, real love, to the one you're with, you shortchange them. And when you shortchange them, you end up shortchanging yourself. And even as you're shortchanging yourself, you're shortchanging another person, the one that you would lust after. Dr. Neil Plantinga, a theologian, writes, "In Scripture, in the Bible, a pure heart is an undivided one. Scriptural writers fear double-mindedness not merely because it shows disloyalty and ingratitude, but also because its perpetrator becomes its victim. Divided worship destroys worshipers. Divided love destroys lovers. To split the truly important longings and loyalties is to crack one's own foundations and invite crumbling, and finally, the disintegration of life itself. A divided house cannot stand." Another pastor from another church, Rob Bell, once wrote, "How you treat the creation, other people he was referencing, reflects how you feel about the Creator." So somebody notices when you do your disintegrating lusting. Somebody sees. Bell also writes, "When I respect the image of God in another, I protect the image of God in me." Same thing that Plantinga is saying about it breaking and destroying us. Now, have you ever felt someone treating you or looking at you in a way that didn't fully see who you are, disrespected you? They didn't have the whole picture of you in mind when they looked at you that way, leered at you, treated you that way at work, pigeonholed you in a certain way, saw you as merely something physical, lusted after you. This is the theological definition of lust. Lust is the intense desire for sexual pleasure uncoordinated with and unsubmissive to the whole person. Unlike true love, lust has no commitment. It is fleeting, and it never satisfies. You are in the grip of lust when you say to another, even if only in your heart, and really, are we ever going to say it but in our hearts? When you say to another, "My needs are more important than your person," you are a means to the end of my satisfaction. That's what lust is. Lust is not merely sexual desire, a God-given good gift, or even a healthy appreciation of the beauty of another, or physical admiration. That's not falling into the deadly part of the deadly sin of lust. The key words in that definition are uncoordinated and unsubmissive to that whole person. No commitment to them. And the true result, that it is never satisfied. If you've got a lust problem and have struggled with this, you know you never satiate this thing. It doesn't work.